Good afternoon, folks. This afternoon's topic, I will share that with you in a second, as soon as I set up for the show. I have to back up so that people can see my shirts. Okay. The article reports on a recent study linking frequent nightmares to accelerated aging and a significantly increased risk of early death. Here are the key takeaways. Individuals who experience nightmares weekly are more than 3 times as likely to die before age 70 compared to those who rarely have them. The study analyzed data from over 183,000 adults aged 26 to 86 and 2,400 children uh, collected from 6 long-term population cohorts. Okay, nightmares were found to be a stronger predictor of premature death than smoking, obesity, or poor diet or inactivity, according to the independent Dr. Abedman, Abedman uh, leading the research at the UK Dementia Research Institute. Explained that nightmares trigger intense stress reactions, including elevated cortisol levels. Chronically elevated cortisol may accelerate cellular aging, potentially explaining the link between nightmares and mortality risks. If you're interested, I can help explore how this might connect to broader topics you've been researching, like sleep, cognitive health, or stress related aging. The findings open up some thought provoking lines of inquiry, both clinically and socially. Okay, sleep health may be a vital sign for longevity. If nightmares are a stronger predictor of early death than even smoking or obesity, it reframes how we view sleep disturbances, not just as symptoms, but possibly as upstream indicators or contributors to psychological aging. Stress psychology could be a hidden driver. Repeated activation of the hippo uh, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal or HPA access through nightmares may lead to chronic cortisol elevation. That is not just bad news for mood, but it may hasten telomere shortening, impair immune function, and accelerate neurodegeneration. Dovetailing with your own research into dementia risk. There are equity implications. Nightmares and poor sleep are often more prevalent among individuals with trauma, chronic illness, poverty, or caregiving stress. If nightmares are predictive of early mortality, that raises concerns about who bears the greatest burden and what interventions might reduce the disparity. Therapeutic innovations. Therapeutic innovation is needed. The link suggests we may need more targeted behavioral pharmacological interventions for frequent nightmares, not just to improve quality of life, but potentially to extend life. If it also invites fascinating dialogue with your interest in cognitive footprints. If frequent nightmares are pushing the brain and body into chronic high alert states, how might that shape long-term cognitive performance and healthcare policy? Would you like to delve into possible mechanisms or maybe what kind of interventions might be most promising? Great question. The mechanisms linking frequent nightmares to accelerated aging and higher mortality risk appear to revolve around chronic activation of biological stress systems and the downstream damage that follows. Here's a breakdown grounded in what we know so far. 1. HPA axis, hyperactivity, and cortisol overload. Nightmares can trigger intense emotional arousal, activating the hypopothic mech, pituitary, adrenal, or HPA axis, which leads to spikes in cortisol. If nightmares occur frequently, this stress response, the stress response becomes chronic, potentially resulting in telomere shortening, a cellular aging marker. Suppressed immune surveillance, elevated oxidative stress, and inflammation. This connects with your interest in brain aging and dementia risks, since high cortisol levels have been implicated in hippocampal atrophy and impaired memory consolidation to sleep uh, architecture disruption. Nightmares, especially when vivid or terrifying, can fragment our REM sleep, a phase essential for emotional regulation and synaptic repair. Chronic REM disruption is linked to impaired genomic clearance, removal of neurotoxic waste. Dysregulation of emotional memory and coding. Heightened vulnerability to mood disorders. Sleep quality affects not just cognition but autonomic balance. Poor sleep may tilt the body into a pro-inflammatory state. Autonomic nervous system uh, dysregulation. Okay, frequent nightmares may reflect or induce autonomic dysregulation with persistent sympathetic overdrive, fight or flight mode. This can contribute to endorphin dysfunction and cardiovascular strain, impaired metabolic regulation, which is glucose tolerance, guys. Heightened allostatic load, cumulative stress damage. Neuropsychotic comorbidity as a mediator. There's also the possibility that nightmares co-occur with underlying conditions like PTSD, anxiety, or depression. These conditions are themselves linked to both altered brain function and shorter lifespan. So nightmares could act as marker for hidden neuropsychotic risk. Taken together, these mechanisms reinforce the idea that frequent nightmares aren't just bad dreams, they may be a multi system warning sign. Would you like to dig into biomarkers data next, like cortisol rhythms or sleep EEG um, matrix, or uh, maybe these findings place nightmares not just in the realm of mental health, but also but at the crossroads of whole body sleep psychology and long-term health outcomes. Nightmares as sleep disruptors. Frequent nightmares can interrupt REM sleep, the phase most associated with emotional processing and memory consolidation. Chronic disruptions here may degrade overall sleep quality, reducing total restorative rest, similar to what is seen in insomnia or untreated sleep apnea. Two, sleep as a regenerative system. Good sleep uh, supports cellular repair, normal balance, and immune function. The persistent stress arousal linked to nightmares may reverse these benefits, turning sleep from a restorative state into a stressor, especially if it leads to anticipatory anxiety about bedtime. Okay, three, sleep quality as a biometer for resilience. Nightmares could be viewed as both a symptom and a signal, symptomatic of stress trauma or psychiatric uh, distress, but also signaling deeper neurobiological vulnerabilities like this dysregulated cortisol rhythms or impaired emotional memory processing, clinical implications for holistic sleep health. This reinforces the idea that improving sleep health isn't just about increasing duration, but it's about improving emotional safety during sleep. Therapists like imaginary rehearsal therapy or IRT, stress reduction techniques, or trauma informed CBT may not just improve dreams but potentially mitigate psychological wear and tear. From your perspective, this connections this connects beautifully with your work on dementia caregiver stress and the biological toll of disrupted routines. Would it be helpful to explore how interventions like uh, magnesium, CB, CBT slash I, or guided imagery could fit into personalized sleep care models? Explore interventions options that could target these stress related feedback loops. Caregivers are often navigating high stress, irregular schedules, and emotional fatigue, all of which can undermine both their sleep and the sleep of those they care for. Here are some evidence-based strategies tailored to or tailored for caregivers' realities. Establishing calming nightmare routines. Create predictable wind down rituals that include dim lighting, gentle music, herbal tea, or light stretching. This can signal the body that it's time to switch off, and it's equally effective for caregivers and care recipients. Use cognitive behavioral tools. Caregivers can benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBT slash I techniques such as sleep restriction, reducing time in bed to boost sleep effectiveness, stimulants control, associating the bed only with sleep, not stress or caregiving, reframing unhelpful thoughts. If I wake up I can rest even if I'm asleep. This aligns with your interest in structured, person centered interventions. Optimize the sleep environment. Even small changes can improve sleep. White noise, machines, or fans to muffle unpredictable sounds. Blackout curtains or eye masks to control light. Weighted blankets for grounding, comfort, which may help people with dementia or anxiety. Incorporate relaxation practices, techniques like guided imagery, uh, progressive muscle relaxation, or mindfulness meditation have shown real promise in reducing nightmare arousal and improving sleep depth. It might be, it might, you might explore how these could be woven into caregiver care recipient routines. Magnesium and diet support. Given your interest in nutrition's cognitive effects, caregivers might consider magnesium rich foods to support or supplements under medical guidance known for promising GABA activity and calming the nervous system. Stable blood sugar levels through complex carbs and healthy fats can also reduce sleep interruptions. Anchor sleep with daytime cues. Exposure to bright natural light in the morning and physical activity during the day helps reinforce circadian rhythms, key when caregiving routines can fragment the schedule. Just a minute, guys. Gonna reposition. Seven, address emotional load. Um, Caregiver insomnia, often emotional in origin. Grief, vigilance, guilt. You've touched on this in your work on burnouts and burnout sleep support for caregivers often requires emotional processing tools such as support groups or narrative based therapies. We could even sketch out a personalized sleep report kit toolkit. Want to look at how these can be adapted for different caregiver profiles or situations, like those supporting someone with dementia or PTSD. Caregiver focused sleep strategies, uh, complement and sometimes outperform broader wellness approaches by directly addressing the unique psychological and emotional pressures of caregiving. Here's how they compare across key domains. Precision over generalization. While general wellness programs advocate exercise, nutrition, and stress reduction, caregiver specific sleep strategies are more targeted. For example, CBT 1 techniques like sleep restriction may be more effective than general mindfulness apps. When sleep deprivation stems from caregiving duties or anticipatory anxiety to emotional integration, caregiver sleep interventions often incorporate grief, hypervigilance, and guilt, which generic well generic wellness plans may overlook. Narrative based um, therapies or peer support can be uniquely restorative when the emotional toll disrupts sleep more than physical factors. Circadian alignments versus flexibility. Many wellness plans emphasize rigid schedules for optimal circadian health. Sleep at the same time nightly, but for caregivers, adaptive flexibility like using power naps, light therapy, or relaxation rituals may be more realistic and just as effective in predicting circadian rhythms. Functional nutrition versus gen- generic diet and advice. Mainstream wellness mainstream wellness tends often emphasize strokes, e.g., anti-inflammatory diets, but caregiver plans can focus on nutrients that regulate sleep and stress, like magnesium, omega 3s, and uh, tryptophan, tailored to emotional and hormonal strain. Mindfulness restoration versus productivity culture. Genetic Genetic wellness sometimes leans toward optimize everything, but caregiver sleep strategies often emphasize rest as a form of resilience against burnout. Rest isn't to become more productive; it's to preserve empathy, memory, and decision making capacity. Overall, caregiver focused approaches integrate your interests in personalization, cognitive resilience, and system level health reform. If you'd like, I can sketch out a comparative matrix, maybe even mapping strategies to caregiver burnout phases or dementia care settings. What do you think? Okay, guys, so that is A for you. I'll be back on shortly with B. Give me a little bit to figure B out, and I'll be back on with it. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.